Trump is suing ABC and George Stephanopoulos for defamation.
George Stephanopoulos tried to bully me and shame me as a rape survivor.
Now we're going to find out if justice goes both ways. Can Trump sue for defamation, maybe get $83 million like E. Jean Carroll did? Well, of course, we all know that's a joke, but Trump is suing them. And I do hope they lose everything. I hope ABC and George Stephanopoulos lose everything. Hundreds of millions of dollars, all their credibility, their license to broadcast. I hope they realize what happens when you start playing lawfare with a candidate. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug TenNapel. This is where the happy patriots are. I found this article at The Hill, but it's going, briefly around the internet this morning. Trump sues ABC and Stephanopoulos, alleging defamation over the Mace interview. Former President Trump sued ABC News and George Stephanopoulos on Monday, alleging defamation over the anchor's questioning of Rep. Nancy Mace, that's Republican of South Carolina, about her endorsement of Trump. So she endorsed Trump. Stephanopoulos, well, I'll let them unpack it for you.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
I was raped at the age of 16, and I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me.
Women won't come forward because they're defamed by those who perpetrate rape. Donald Trump
They are judged and they're shamed.
What you're doing is defending a man who's been found liable for rape. I don't understand how you can do that.
Not in a criminal court of law.
The March 10th interview on This Week made headlines after Mace, a rape survivor, accused Stephanopoulos of trying to shame her by probing why she endorsed the former President Trump, despite the jury's recent verdicts against him in advice columnist E. Jean Carroll sexual battery and defamation lawsuits. Trump's lawsuits takes aim at how Stephanopoulos, at multiple points in his questioning, said Trump had been found, quote, liable for rape.
Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape.
The jury had found Trump liable for sexual abuse under New York law, but not rape. They specifically acquitted him. They said there was not enough evidence to prove him of that. So George Stephanopoulos defamed Trump. He's guilty. You have to be careful with your words. This is also why Sonny Hostin at the end of all of the View segments is always going, Trump has said he is innocent. Da, da, da. They have to do that legal boilerplate usually. And if Stephanopoulos said that at the end of his segment, he'd be off the hook. But he didn't. His lazy, sloppy thinking of impugning Trump's character, hopefully, if there's justice. Now, there probably isn't justice. I don't know if you still believe America is operating on a system where laws mean things, where Trump gets nailed for $83 million and someone else who does the same thing to him and damages his reputation like Stephanopoulos on a network like ABC. How much money will they pay? You can tell me in the comments below. Take your guess. Do they get away with it? Or is there such a thing as justice still in America? I don't know. Actually, I do know. Ain't nothing going to happen. Quote, judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of the rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? That's Stephanopoulos asking Mace during the interview. Quote, these statements were and remain false and were made by defendant Stephanopoulos with actual malice or a reckless disregard for the truth, given that defendant Stephanopoulos knows that these statements are patently and demonstrably false, unquote. Trump's attorney, Alejandro Brito, wrote in a 20-page complaint, it, quote, indeed, the jury expressly found that plaintiff did not commit rape, and as demonstrated below, defendant George Stephanopoulos was aware of the jury's finding in this regard, yet still falsely stated otherwise. Trump asked for an unspecified amount of damages, hopefully about $85 million is the going rate these days, in the lawsuit, which was filed in federal court in Miami. So he's going to get a good Miami judge and jury. ABC News declined to comment. Yeah, get him. Get him, Donald. We already know how this works, right? Trump gets nailed for it and called the R word. Biden, accused of the exact same thing by an even more credible source, does not get hung by that label, which if George Stephanopoulos was honest, he would say that in his newscast, but he's not. So that's the Hill. I hope Trump gets something. I hope he finds a sympathetic judge. I hope he gets a judge that he appointed, just so all these Democrats know this is the reciprocal of what they did to him in New York. I hope he gets a judge he appointed in Florida. Throw the book at ABC and George Stephanopoulos for at least $83 million. Preferably, I hope he should go for $1 billion, given what Trump is worth and the amount of damage they did just in that one instance. Think of the pain and suffering Trump has gone through, just over what George Stephanopoulos has said about him in public. I'm Doug in Exile.